Kwame Mensah was a man whose name echoed across Africa and beyond. At 45, he was one of the wealthiest men on the continent, the owner of vast real estate empires, luxury hotels, private airlines, and stakes in oil companies that stretched from Lagos to Nairobi. Every newspaper called him the Golden Lion of Africa. From the outside, he had everything a man could ever want. His Lagos mansion looked like a royal palace, guarded by tall gates and marble lions that seemed to roar silently at visitors. He owned a fleet of luxury cars, had private jets at his disposal, and mingled with presidents and kings. Yet, wealth and status had not bought him peace. Kwame's marriage to Adwoa, his stunning Ghanaian wife, was celebrated in magazines a decade ago as the African fairy tale. She was beautiful, eloquent, and the daughter of a former minister. Their wedding was broadcasted across television stations, a union of power and prestige. But like many fairy tales, the glitter dimmed when reality set in. Adwoa was less of a wife and more of a business partner. She knew how to charm investors, manage the household's public image, and play hostess to diplomats at lavish banquets. But behind closed doors, their relationship was cold. They slept in separate wings of the mansion, their conversations revolving around schedules, profits, and appearances. There was no warmth, no laughter, no intimacy. Kwame often lay awake at night in his king-sized bed, staring at the chandelier above him, wondering if love was something men like him were destined never to have. One humid Tuesday morning, as Kwame strolled through his mansion's garden, his eyes fell on a young woman kneeling by the rose bushes. She wore a plain uniform, her hair tied back, her dark skin glowing in the sun as beads of sweat dotted her forehead. She was pulling weeds, humming softly to herself, unaware that the billionaire himself was watching. There was something raw, almost spiritual, about her precinct. Kwame found excuses to walk through the gardens more often, though no one dared to question him. Each time, he sought a glimpse of Abina. She was different from any woman he had known, humble, hard-working, yet possessing a quiet dignity that made her stand taller than the pearls and diamonds his wife adorned herself with. One morning, as Abina watered the hibiscus plants, he stopped beside her. "You sing when you work," he said. She looked startled, then smiled shyly. "It helps me forget I am tired, sir." Kwame tilted his head. "What is it you sing about?" "Home," she said softly. "My village. My mother's voice. The sound of rain on the zinc roof. I sing so I don't lose myself here." Her words pierced him. For all his wealth, Kwame often felt lost, too. He looked at her, and for a brief, dangerous moment, he wished he could trade places, to be free of board meetings, banquets, and a wife who loved the idea of him more than the man himself. He began to notice little things, how Abina tucked loose strands of hair behind her ear, how she never took more food than she needed, how her laughter with the other servants was genuine. He saw how the mansion's hierarchy weighed on her, a small voice among big commands. One evening, after a long day of negotiations, Kwame stepped onto the balcony. He looked down and saw Abina carrying laundry to the servants' quarters. Without thinking, he called out, "Abina!" She froze, then turned nervously. "Yes, sir? Come here." She hesitated, then obeyed. When she stood before him, Kwame saw the moonlight touch her face, making her skin glow. "You work too hard," he said. Her eyes widened. "It is my duty, sir." "And what of your dreams?" Abina blinked, confused. "Dreams, sir?"
Yes.
"What do you want beyond this mansion? Beyond work?" For the first time, she lifted her gaze to his. "I want to study, sir. Become a nurse. Heal people like my mother, who cannot afford hospitals. But dreams cost money, and I have none."
Kavi.
Temptation is a slow poison. Kwame knew this, yet he allowed it to seep deeper into his veins. He sought Abina out more often, speaking with her in hidden corners of the mansion, always careful not to be seen. One rainy afternoon, fate betrayed him. A storm had broken out, flooding parts of the garden. Abina rushed to pull cloves from the line, but the wind was too strong. Kwame, returning from a meeting, spotted her struggling, and ran to help. He grabbed the flapping sheets, holding them down while she tried to untie the knots. Their hands brushed. Lightning cracked above them. "Thank you, sir," she whispered, soaked to the skin, her uniform clinging to her. Kwame's breath caught. She looked fragile yet fierce, like a flower fighting the storm. Something inside him snapped. Without thinking, he reached out, brushing wet strands of hair from her face. "Abina," his voice was hoarse. Her wide eyes met his, filled with fear, confusion, and something else. Something unspoken. For a heartbeat, they stood frozen, the rain pounding around them. Then, against every rule he had lived by, Kwame lowered his lips to hers. The kiss was brief, stolen, dangerous. She pulled back instantly, trembling. "Sir, this is wrong," she stammered. "You have a wife." Kwame's chest heaved. "I know, but I cannot stop how I feel." Tears welled in her eyes. "And I cannot be the reason a woman suffers." She ran from him, leaving Kwame standing in the rain, torn between guilt and a desire he could no longer deny. The kiss haunted both of them. For days, they avoided each other, but the mansion's walls could not contain the magnetic pull between them. One night, Kwame found Abina in the library, dusting shelves. He closed the door quietly behind him. "Abina," he said softly. She froze. "You should not be here." "Neither should you be here this late," he countered with a faint smile. She turned, anger and fear battling in her eyes. "What do you want from me, sir?" Kwame stepped closer, his voice steady. "I want to know you. Not as my servant. As a woman. As Abina." Her resolve faltered. She wanted to resist, yet part of her longed to be seen, truly seen. In the shadows of that library, words turned into whispers, whispers into confessions, confessions into embraces. Their secret meetings grew bolder. A touch of hands in the hallway. A shared glance during banquets. Late-night conversations by candlelight, where Kwame spoke not as a billionaire, but as a lonely man. Abina fought the guilt, but her heart betrayed her. She, too, was falling. Adwoa, ever perceptive, noticed the change. Her husband was distracted, his phone left unanswered during meetings, his gaze wandering during dinners. He smiled more often, but not at her. One evening, she confronted him. "You are hiding something, Kwame." He stiffened. "Nonsense. I am just tired." Adwoa narrowed her eyes. "Don't lie to me. I can smell secrets." Kwame turned away, but inside, panic stirred. He had built empires on cunning and strategy, but this was dangerous. If Adwoa discovered his affair, it would not only destroy his marriage, but his reputation and businesses. Meanwhile, Abina grew more anxious. She noticed Adwoa's sharp eyes lingering on her longer than usual. The mansion, once her place of quiet work, became a prison of fear. One night, Abina whispered to Kwame, "We must stop. She suspects. If she finds out." Kwame cupped her face, his voice desperate. "I cannot lose you, Abina. You are the only light in my life. Let me handle Adwoa." But deep down, he knew. The storm was coming. The storm broke faster than Kwame expected. One evening, Adwoa caught them, Kwame and Abina, hand in hand in the garden. Her scream pierced the night. "You dare shame me with a servant? A girl who scrubs our floors?" Kwame stepped forward, shielding Abina. "Adwoa, enough. This marriage has been dead for years. You know it." Adwoa's face twisted with fury. "You will lose everything. The board, the investors, they will never forgive you for this scandal." Kwame stood tall, his decision made. "Let them take it. Let them strip me of titles, of wealth, of empire. I would rather live as a poor man with love than a rich man in chains." For the first time in years, he felt free. Adwoa left him, and the newspapers screamed with scandal. Investors pulled away, politicians turned their backs, friends whispered in shadows. Kwame's empire crumbled piece by piece. But through it all, Abina stayed. When he moved to a modest home in Accra, she was there, cooking with him, laughing with him, loving him. They faced poverty, gossip, and judgment, but they faced it together. And in the quiet of their small home, Kwame realized something wealth had never given him: peace. Years later, when he sat under a mango tree with Abina by his side, her hand in his, he whispered, "I lost the world, but I found my heaven." And Abina smiled, because she knew it was TR.